Okay, let's go over the interface now. So there's so much to go over here. So again, remember, if I miss something, just feel free to quickly go try to find the name of it, and then just find a Google video, and usually that will go over it pretty quickly. But I'll see if I'll get through all of this. So obviously this right here is the viewport. So or maybe not obvious, but this is basically where you're going to see your animation, right? So this is where you're going to see all your models and all of that, and we move around here. By default, you're going to see that it comes in with a light and a camera. For animation, we can go ahead and delete those. We don't need those. This thing right here is the cursor that we often turn off. For us, for at least for now, we don't need to worry about the cursor. Cool. Let's start up at the very top here. So you've got your default menus here: file, edit, render, window, and help. These will always be here like this. And this is where you find your preferences, like we went over last time. Obviously file and open and save are in your default things, but once we go past here, then you've got these other menus called layout, modeling, sculpting, and so on. All of these are different kind of like setups. So if we click animation, you'll notice that everything rearranges. If we click shading, it's probably going to take my machine a bit because shading is a little bit more complex. Yeah, you can see that it's thinking. Let's hope that I didn't just crash it. All of these are going to bring up different like basic not viewports, but what do they call them? They call them Q maps or something like that. So the one that we're going to be working in mostly is going to be animation. By default, what it comes in as layout. I should not have clicked the shading one. There's the shading one. So we don't want that one. We want animation. If you were doing one of these other things, you would if you're modeling, you would click this one, right? Animation like this. We're going to be animating. So you can see multiple viewports right here. This viewport is typically going to be the camera viewport. So if there was a camera, when you're animating, you often set your camera and you want to see what it looks like from the camera. And then you also want to have a kind of like your playground where you can move it around and you're not affecting the camera and what actually the audience is going to see, but you can see it from all angles. Cool. Going from there, you'll see that each viewport has its own kind of different menus right here. If we start at the top left, like right here, this is where you can bring it, you can change this to a different thing altogether. Right now it's a 3D viewport, but if we wanted to change this space right here into something else, we could. We don't in this case. If we go from there, we're going to go to what is kind of a big difference between Blender and some of the other softwares is that Blender has these modes. By default, we're in object mode. And so like we would go ahead and move things in object mode. This is typically what we're going to be in, but if we were going to model something or edit something, like we would often go into edit mode, and then we would, here we would have our vertice, edge, face, base thing. But for now, we're going to stay in object mode. Just know that this is something that if you get into Blender, you're going to be dealing with these different modes quite often. Cool. Going from there, you've got a few different menus here that you may want to look into. Mostly, these are just going to be what you're seeing here in the viewport. Cool. Going from there, the global, this one is actually something we are going to use a lot as animators. So by default, if you look at the arrows and how they're faced, so the blue is up, the green is to the right, red is this way. If we go ahead and rotate this like this, you'll notice that it didn't, these arrows didn't follow the box, but they stayed along here. Do you see that? How these arrows are still pointing towards there? That is because this is on global. If we click this and we change this to local, you'll notice that now it stays with the box. So this is going to be, local is going to be whatever your selection is, however it's pointing. So right now it's pointing this way, so I can go like that and move it this way. And my arrows are there. I use this quite a bit. So there is global and local. This is something that I use these two probably the most. I don't, for animators, we don't usually use normal. Other animators love to use gimbal. That's not something we're going to go over in this class, but I would say most other animators love to use gimbal. It's a very clean way of animating. If you feel like you're a really clean person and are a clean animator, you might want to look into global at some point, because that's a way of working that I don't typically work in. I'm a messy animator. So going from here, typically we're probably not going to use too much here. Wouldn't worry too much about these things at this point. This is going to be here. So this is just overall visibility of what you see. So like if I turn this off, this means that all the visibility, like it's not going to show any mesh in this particular viewport. See how I can still see it over there, but I can't see it here. So this is specific to this. So if I wanted to turn off, let's say I hadn't deleted the cameras, if I just didn't want to see them, but I wanted to keep them there, I could just go ahead and do something like that and click that there. Cool. Going from here, this I wouldn't worry about too much at the moment, nor would I here. This one, you are going to, we're going to pay attention to these ones. Let's start with this one right here. This is viewport shading. So this is what's often called wireframe. So you can see now that we can just see the outline of the box. So sometimes you need to see through your object to be like, well, what's going on? So this is a good way to do that. And that was this button right here. By default, it's on this one right here, which is just your viewport shading. If you ever wanted to see something with textures, you would then click this one, and this one will show you your textures. And then, yes, those are the three that you ought to pay attention to. Cool. You can go ahead, you'll notice that this thing right here, if you want to click these will snap you to different axes. You can always just grab the viewport afterwards and get out of that. If for some reason, if you just want to zoom in, you can click and move these, and this will do that for you. I wouldn't expect you to use those too much. Cool. Let's go over into here. This is kind of like what's called scene collection. So you can see that there's a cube here. If we were to go ahead and create something, like let's say we go into here, we're going to say add, we're going to say mesh, and we are going to create a UV sphere. And I'll move it right over here like this. I'm going to change my viewport back to this. You will now notice that I have two things in here. I've got my cube right here and I've got my sphere. I can use this to select them both. If I wanted to hide the sphere, I could go over here and hide that sphere, and then turn it back whenever I want it to. Cool. Then you've got a whole bunch of menus over here. By default, this is the menu right here. It's the object menu. Some of these I'm not going to go over right now. We'll often use the data menu as well, but by default, we won't worry about this too much. You'll notice that the default one, which is on object, this is going to tell you by where the location is. So if I select this one right here, the transform versus this, you can see these change. This is the X, Y, Z location. I assume at this point you know about that. So by default, this is going to be Z, which is different from most standards, like not most actually, but from like Maya. Maya is Y, just so you know. But in this case, this one's Z. Pixar's is Z is up too as well. Y is left and right. X is this way. Cool. So if you and all of this, I don't tend to really pay attention to X, Y, and Z too much, but a lot of other animators really do. You'll notice this, you've got your X, Y, and Y. You can move this stuff as well over here, and you've got your scales. We won't get into rotation mode. Okay, let's get down to here. By default, you will see that there is a dope sheet, what's called the dope sheet right here. Typically, we're probably not going to use the dope sheet too much. I'm not really, I don't often use that, but let's go ahead and set a key. Let's set a few keys. You'll notice that when, so to set a key, I just hit S, by the way. I'm going to move this and set another key. and then I'm going to move this and set another key. So basically the dope sheet is a quick way to kind of see your keys and offset things. We're not going to often use that. We're going to set up things in a slightly different way, or the way I would suggest you do it. So I would suggest you first change this to timeline. So this is more similar to what you'll see like when you first open up Blender. You often get a timeline, and if we open this up and we open this up, you'll now see that we have two timelines. If ever you want to open up another menu, you click. You don't click over here. You see how my cursor changes, and now if I click, I can add another menu. In this case, I only want the two menus, so I have one timeline down here, and I'm going to go ahead and change this one now to the graph editor. Cool. So now I have my timeline down here, which I'm going to move it something like this. I'm going to use this just to kind of see where my keys are, and then I'm going to use this one to refine kind of my keys and my spacing. So right here, this is going to be your graph editor. So in here, you saw this a little bit in the previous lecture. This is where your curves are going to be. So if I select the sphere right here, and you'll see that it pops up over here. If I open these up right here and I just look at, say, Z, you'll notice that this curve moves right here. And so I can see that at this point, this has gone up here. So if I were to move this up, you'll notice that, if I key it, you'll notice that it goes up with it. If I move it down, it goes down with it. Cool. So generally, the graph editor, like this is going to represent kind of your movement, and this is going to represent your individual axes over here. This is going to be your translate, your rotation, and your scale over here. Cool. And I think that's going to give us our basic. We hit play here. I often hit spacebar to hit play. Cool. I think that gets us going. Let's start animating, yeah? Okay, I'll see ya. Bye.